Thanks for joining us. My name is Ibrahim Sani. In the studio on my left is our good friend of the show, Professor Mushtaq Al-Atabi, Heriot-Watt University Malaysia's Provost and CEO. Professor Mushtaq, it's always a fun item to talk to you about a lot of issues. The issue that is surrounding us right now is on the application of AI, especially ChatGPT, GPT-4, Bing, Bing, and many other APIs that is currently being applied by companies around the world on using prompt-based AI to solve their own solutions. The question also revolves around what will happen to folks like me, somebody that would argue that my job is easily replaceable by AI. I'm not going to lie, I am feeling a little bit under pressure in terms of what would be the future of jobs like mine that can be easily replaced. Of course, then the follow-up question is, how do academics then train our staff? So as you can see, there's a lot of issues on this. Let's talk about how ChatGPT has impacted the global higher education sector for now, and what would be some of the, I guess, pros and cons, or the element of how higher education is going to be impacted by ChatGPT or AI.
Yes, thanks, Ibrahim. So the immediate thing that people would start think about is plagiarism, because now, as you could imagine, you could ask ChatGPT to write your thesis according to your university's standards. And while we say we could still detect it, it's actually quite difficult, quite challenging to make sure that you can detect this plagiarism. So some universities, like there are a number of Australian universities, their response to this was, we're going back to pen and pencil kind of exams. We want you to be here, we want to examine you. But you know what, this is very difficult to achieve, because there are people who could also put some earpiece and smart glasses and so on, and get that approach. So I think the challenge, sort of a fun challenge, is some academics think that, wow, ChatGPT and AI is great, because now I don't have to mark the assignment. I could take it in
and punch it in,
and then it will give me the... Now the students are thinking, well, that's great, I don't have to write my assignment. So we could literally end up in a situation whereby the assignment is written by AI, marked by AI, no intellectual transaction has ever happened. But to me, all of that is actually just the beginning. I think the way AI is going to change things is well beyond this. We are just at the beginning. Imagine what we can do in a year or two. Imagine the new products that are going to be introduced. So to me, when I reflect over this, I think of what human beings can bring to any endeavor in life. They bring three things. We bring our physical capacity, capability to move things around and manipulate them. We bring our cognitive capability, ability to think and write scripts and enact them and so on. But also we bring our ability to, the first one I call the physical labor, the second one I call the cognitive labor, but ultimately there's the emotional labor. It's the ability that you look me in the eye and make me feel welcome if I'm nervous to be on TV. That's something I do believe that it is human in essence. And this is the part, being self-aware, being self-assured, being able to motivate yourself, to motivate others. This is an area, at least for now, I do believe is in the realm of the human beings. And I think education and leadership should focus on that.
My worry is that, Prof, the first two, the physical and cognitive labor,
yes,
will be able to be handled by AI in the near term.
Absolutely.
The emotional element, the whole idea of whether you ask an AI, are you sentient?
Yes.
Are you self-aware?
Yes.
That kind of thing, right? Yeah, okay, right now, they're not going to be able to solve that particular portion, but in due time they will. The idea here is, can AI also address the emotional or substitute that emotional aspect?
I think it already can do certain parts, right? But there are still an element of care, of trust, that we still need, I believe, a human being to do. So the human being, they can have a sense of purpose. They should have a sense of purpose. And I think that sense of purpose is the ultimate differentiator. And for us to be having a sense of purpose, then we will be able to motivate ourselves. You see, we all lived, maybe not you, I lived at a time where there were two TV channels, and there is like one...
No, hang on, I was part of that.
Oh, I was part of that. Fantastic.
I'm a millennial.
Fantastic.
Sorry,
Okay.
yeah, I live in the...
Brilliant. Some of our watchers might be in that
TV1,
area.
TV2, TV3, that's it.
Fantastic, right? So we have that, and we know when will be a certain series will come and so on.
TV schedule program on the newspaper.
And we lived and we were quite happy with that.
Yeah.
Look at what we have now. We have Netflix, we have Apple TV, and I literally look through the whole thing, and I'm still bored. I don't have any content
choice paralysis.
So what it wasn't really choice paralysis. I don't like any of it, right? so I think the key thing here is how do we remain contented? Because you see, even if the AI will do our work, and you know, I'm not worried about the economic part of work, because if work is being done and value is being exchanged, the government will be able to tax that. And if there is revenue, we will have money. It's really not that. And probably you know about universal basic income, where everyone will get some money because by virtue of being a human being. But would that be a meaningful life? And I think our biggest challenge is boredom. So ultimately, while the AI could do things, the ultimate challenge for us is how do we keep people motivated? How do I keep my children motivated? I think that would be, the ultimate challenge. How to remain self-aware, how to remain self-motivated and be able to motivate others. Not to mention the notion of truth and what does it mean to be true. So these are actually amazing challenges for education or for business as well. And I think this is going to be the direction where education should focus on. Is no longer just skills and knowledge. These things will be really taken for granted largely.
So right now I'm in the market of shopping around for schools that offer A-levels. My daughter's finishing exams, and there's a lot of conversations that I'm having with universities right now and colleges. And I was asking them about the impact of AI on how they conduct their syllabus, I suppose. And all of them, without exception, are now saying that they don't know how they should structure education moving forward. But all of them also in concert, including Harriet Watt University, Malaysia, of course, is thinking about how do you guys try to see from the what is subject, what is this, what is that, to how do you apply it, how do you relationship it, how do you ensure that this is more meaningful, and as you said just now, about 2-3 minutes ago, how does this address boredom, keep people motivated? I don't think anybody has an answer just yet, but of course, since all the higher tertiary education, and of course the K-12 education as well, is thinking about this, clearly this is also an exciting time for your sector.
Yes, it is. So actually, we started 5-6 years ago by saying every one of our students and every one of our staff will start their journey with us literally in the first month to identify and document and articulate their sense of purpose. So they need to write what we call an impact statement, which is a statement of who they are, what is their purpose, and how do they want to mobilize that into a positive impact on the world. We were actually anticipating this. These things were happening, right?
By the way, that exercise, I don't think many of them have ever faced that kind of question.
Absolutely.
And they are stumped.
Yes. So what we do is we go and look at these people, literally the age of your daughter, and we say, reflect on your life. And say, how do I reflect on my life? There's a process, and there is an impact coach that goes with you. This is not something we do in a classroom of 100. This is 1 to 10. So an experienced coach will work with the students to first discover who they are, then articulate their sense of purpose, and after that, they mobilize their purpose into a real impact on the world. This is the way people can remain anchored, and also they remain very motivated to do very hard work.
Knowing that Harriet Watt started this 5-6 years ago with the impact statement, how does this apply today, Prof?
So to me, this is an idea that its time has arrived. Because 5 years ago, people would say, why are you doing this? I just want a very good engineer or a very good actuarial scientist. But you know, now people are saying, you know what? An actuarial scientist is something that probably 80% of the work will be, done by a computer that will calculate the longevity tables or whatever that they do, the statistical, very complex statistical models that they're working on. But what we need is someone who really understands themselves so that they remain motivated when things are difficult in the first place, and be able to, reach out to others and connect with them, and so on and so forth. So ultimately, I think the human motivation, the ability to have that sense of wisdom, when you get this onslaught of fake news and fake data and all of that, how do you remain centered in the, at the presence of all of that? I think these will be the skills that you will take a deep breath and say, I am a math lover, let's say, as an actuarial scientist. And my purpose is actually to use my mastery for math to reduce complexity for others. Let me remember why I started all of that. We can never underestimate the importance of that. And it's that at the time when things are difficult, where people who have a sense of purpose, who would be able to reflect over that and use it as a platform to do something good.
Do you see this honestly as an advent or a time when people are now asking themselves, what is my purpose here? What is my sense of purpose? Because the mechanical part of studying or learning is already being taken care of.
Yes.
Let's assume that there is no need for us to go deep into the whole conversation of what is this, what is that, because things are going to be resolved quick and easy.
Yeah.
But the moment one understands that whole sense of purpose, as cliche as it sounds, now is much more important than ever.
So let me tell you what I know is a fact. When I go to an open day for our university, and I see students and their parents, and I say to the students, how many of you, whoever of you is not sure what to do next, please raise your hand.
Well, I think
95% raise their hand. So what we know is people are not sure what to do.
Is that okay? It's fine,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely,
for
absolutely.
A 19-year-old, 18-year-old?
Well, I believe without we working with them on developing a sense of purpose, that's the intervention that I'm actually advocating for. I could meet these people, when they are 30 and they say, you know what, I joined this company, I left, I moved on, I made a little bit of money, I still don't know what I want to do. So I think getting a 19-year-old or 18-year-old to reflect on their sense of purpose at that moment is such an essential intervention. And it's a very difficult one. Do you know why? Because first, before we can do the intervention, we have to ensure that the faculty members and the professional service staff do have that sense of purpose. And, some of us who are 40 or 50, when you push us to say, what is your purpose? We won't be able to articulate something that's very meaningful beyond, well, I'm here to do good and leave the world better than I inherited it. But that deep dive, cliché as may it sound, is actually an important thing. To me, it's really the ultimate and probably the only one thing that we could do, and we know that it will empower our youth and our people generally to be able to deal with such an uncertain future.
Yeah, and I don't think AI can ever answer that whole question, what is my purpose here?
So the AI could give you a very beautiful answer.
Yeah,
right. You could just use it and claim that this is your purpose, but if it's not your purpose, if you have not gone through the struggle of reflecting on your values, your life, what brings meaning to your life, what do you love doing, how do you want to make the world a better place, how do you want to get rich and successful doing good in the world, I think is going to be very difficult. It's going to be just a statement that ChatGPT can do. Because people ask me, Mushtaq, what if your students go to ChatGPT and say, please produce a purpose statement? Of course, the ChatGPT... They can.
It's not a problem.
Absolutely. So I said, if we have failed to inspire them to actually see purpose as an important thing, of course they go to ChatGPT and will produce something good. And I will never know whether this is real or not, because I will never be able to put them in an fMRI machine and know that this actually what their brain has created.
Okay, let's talk about this whole element of sense of purpose now more than ever being important, and couple that with the emotional argument here, the feeling of dejected, the feeling of feeling hollow. And I'm not just talking about mental health issues. That is, of course, one topic that we need to explore even further. Research have shown, Malaysian research by KKM, by MOH, that mental health issues are rising, both in the instance of discovery and instances as well. Previously, it was poorly documented. Now it's well documented. So this does show the cases rising. But of course, having done that, there's also instances where cases are indeed rising, regardless of whether it was discovered or not. So on both counts, mental health cases are rising. Then you couple with this whole sense of purpose, and you start to wonder, there is a lot of emotional aspect that needs to be addressed right now at the advent of AI, both in the realm of higher education as well as at the workplace. And what's more important is that it's impacting our young Malaysians, our students, young girls especially. There's a research by Meta that shows that 1 in 4 girls in the US are suffering from mental health issues. I don't know whether such a data can be replicated here in Malaysia or this part of the world, and finding out more on that. So, do you feel that connecting at the emotional level now is more important than ever? I'm not just talking about the students, but your faculty staff as well, people in the workplace as well, and many more.
So the short answer is yes, because if people have a sense of purpose, even if they are feeling down, if you are feeling down, I could say, Ibrahim, do you remember when we worked on your impact statement? Can you go and refer to that? So this is one thing. But the other element, which is very important, something that we have actually also started 5-6 years ago, it's awareness. So for example, if someone is thinking of harming themselves or even taking their life, if you go and you see them maybe in a funny situation, or maybe they will be jumping off a building or something, you should go and ask, are you trying to kill yourself? Now, this is actually a piece of knowledge, because many people fear to ask this question for the worry, for the concern that they may create suicidal thoughts in the mind of the other person. But if you are trained in the almost like the basics of mental health, it would tell you that if the person does not have suicidal thoughts, a question will not create it. Now, that knowledge, how to intervene when things are down, is becoming a basic skill that's required of anyone who is in education, or even a working adult. So I think there are two elements here. If we all have a sense of purpose, that would help. And I do believe, and there is actually research that shows that people who have articulated the sense of purpose, they are happier, they are more resilient, and so on. But at the same time, there is a level of training and awareness that parents and teachers and leaders should have, because many people avoid talking about mental health issues, and that will aggravate the situation.
Okay, let's talk a little bit more about what University per se. There is this period right now where parents are like me. They're looking at some of the opportunities and the advantages of looking at one particular school over the other. What would be some of the ideas that you can share with us on what Heriot is doing right now?
Well, I think Heriot is, as we all know, is a global university. So one of the key things that we offer, besides highly regarded, very well accredited, high quality programs, is that notion of being able to transfer through the university. So we have the same calendar, the same programs, the same exam in all of our campuses, whether in Malaysia, Dubai, or in the UK. So that notion of being able to move through the universities, I believe, is a very important thing, a very important consideration for both parents and students, because you could do this first seamlessly, but also at a substantial financial saving as well. The other bit is our focus on employability. And even, while we are focusing on purpose, we are linking it to getting a job. I could actually tell very quickly a story about my own son, who, after he did his impact statement, he was actually quite skeptical about it at the beginning. But when he was looking for an internship, I say, why don't you write your impact statement on your CV? He said, do you think people would care for this? I said, you have nothing to
lose,
right?
Go for it.
Go for it. So he went actually for 3 or 4 interviews, and he was very surprised that 80% of the conversation was not about the 1 year of his business degree that he did at Heriot-Watt, but was about his impact statement. What is this? Oh, this is an impact statement. What did you do after you articulated it? Oh, well, we run this program, and then we raise funds for the turtle hatchery in Kuantan, and my role was this. So it became a much richer conversation. So, but ultimately, we are building these purpose-driven leaders, because I will never know what will happen in 2 years in the job market with this exponential growth in AI. But we know that if we create people who have a deep sense of purpose, they understand who they are, they will be ready to deal with the future. You know, let me just give you a piece of data that it's mind-boggling. By 2049, this is from Mo Gaudat, the ex-Google engineer who wrote a book called Scary Smart. By 2049, AI will be 1 billion times smarter cognitively than the smartest human being. That's actually the ratio between the intelligence of a fly compared to the intelligence of Einstein. So can you imagine, in terms of AI, it's done. The cognitive bit, the thinking bit will be done by assisted ChatGPT. And we have been talking about before the show that how many of us actually now don't use search, but use ChatGPT, because it will give you something very good. Now imagine in a year or two, this will be probably 100 times better. It will give you something very specific. Now your role as a human being would be, what would you do with it? Because you could, just like the example I have given you before on Netflix and Apple TV and so on, you have all the knowledge, but you're still feeling hollow. You're still feeling, I'm bored. I don't know what to do. I'm not even motivated. I don't want to wake up in the morning. So that notion of, I want to wake up in the morning to do something. Where is that something? It has to be related to my purpose. And it's impacting who? It has to be impacting other people who need my help. Because there will be always people who need our help. People who might be, people of disability, or people who are, underprivileged. And so the world will keep on needing that. And I think the AI is a tool.
Yeah.
It could take us, north or south, good or bad. So, it depends on how we use it.
So this values, I suppose, or paradigm is inculcated with Heriot-Watt University in Malaysia. Do you feel that it's worth having a conversation with folks from Heriot-Watt in Malaysia in terms of trying to see how they can get the best out of these young individuals, or people who want to extend postgraduate?
Absolutely, absolutely. Please, I'm inviting everyone who want to have a conversation with any of my colleagues, or even myself. Please write to me directly. You could search me, and I will respond, because this is a topic that we feel so strongly about. Because it's our own purpose, as people who work for the university. This really starts from our vice chancellor, our colleagues in Dubai and Edinburgh. Everyone is actually now believes in this, and we believe that we are probably the first university in the world that we are doing what we are doing, where we're getting everybody to articulate their sense of purpose. And as I said earlier, I believe this is an idea that its time has arrived. And there's no way you could stop an idea that its time has arrived.
Thank you very much for having this conversation with us. That was Professor Mushtaq Al-Atabi, the Provost and CEO of Heriot-Watt University Malaysia. You can learn more about their on their website. You can also learn more about these conversations here on Esrawani. We've had this conversation, type of conversations a few times before, so do check it out on esrawani.com. My name is Ibrahim Sani. Catch you in the next one.